Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Big Man, Big Books. Apologies, it's been some time. I've had various things to do, including getting married and currently raising a child. So it doesn't really free me up for loads of time to make these content, and sometimes, life gets in the way. But needless to say, here I am to bring you a new book review. Now, I've been reading a variety of different things recently. I've been dipping a little bit in and out of fantasy. However, I am going to be reviewing a very well-known and beloved fantasy book today, that being Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice. Now, if you know anything about fantasy fiction, you will know that Robin Hobb is a household name in the genre. She has published a variety of different series, different trilogies, all normally within the same fantasy universe. And one of those in particular are the Farseer trilogy, beginning with Assassin's Apprentice. Probably her most respected and loved series out of the entire collection she's published over the many years. This review will be spoiler free. I will not be going into too many details bar general synopsis regarding the book. However, without further ado, let's get started. Assassin's Apprentice takes place in the realm of the Sixth Duchess, where a young boy named Fitz is brought to the gates of the royal family by this old man claiming to be his grandfather, that Fitz is the bastard of the soon-to-be king. From here, we see that Fitz is brought in and looked after by the stable hand and essentially used as a pawn in the game of politics within this kingdom. What I particularly love about this book is it was probably the first fantasy book I've read, if I can think off the top of my head of any, that are in first person. It's really clearly a coming of age story. We see Fitz from the age of 6 years old and his life, within the walls of this kingdom, knowing that he doesn't really fit in anywhere. He is soon made to train to be an assassin by a tutor within the kingdom. Now, if you're going into this book thinking this is going to be, assassinations and, crazy kind of Assassin's Creed type, storytelling, then it probably won't be for you. Yes, there are elements of that throughout the story and throughout the trilogy, but at the core of it, this is more about one man's pursuit of sort of his kingdom and, knowing where he fits in society. Being that he is of royal blood, but also not in the sense that he has any kind of sort of land or title. It really shows how lonely this character gets at times, and Fitz as a character goes through such an ordeal. He keeps getting bashed down. And that's not to say he's a perfect character. What I really like about how Hobb has wrote Fitz is there are times where you're reading this book and the other books where you go, what the fuck are you doing, mate? But it makes it so much more enjoyable because you see the outcome of these things, and you understand that actually people aren't perfect, and he's not a perfect hero by any means. He is, likable to an extent, but it's a really intriguing sort of story about this. Well, it's a coming of age story. It's Stand By Me. It's Goonies. It's in a fantasy sort of setting. There is a magic system within this story. I won't go into too much detail, but it does play a major part of the storyline. I remember when I was reading this, there was one particular area of things talking about one of the major sort of overarching side storylines in the book series, one of the villain storylines, that when I read, it genuinely gave me goosebumps. I felt like I was reading Stephen King. It was so almost terrifying, to be honest, and it's very rare that I get that from a book, where I'm genuinely like, this is genuinely dreadful. And Robin Hobb really has a way of words as well. This is a beautifully written book. Some of the dialogue, some of the way she's pieced, sentences together is absolutely pure craftsmanship at its core. She's really made a staple name within the industry, in such an industry that's so flooded by a lot of white male authors, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's really great to see someone getting through the bulk of all those names and coming out as probably, I would say, one of the greatest authors within the industry of all time. In terms of pacing of this book, I actually found this, I flung through this. I went through it so quickly. I personally thought this was really well paced. It was straight to the point. It didn't faff around. In terms of later installments, that's another thing. Other books do get a little bit longer. I got the vibe from this book that, that she didn't know whether or not she was going to make sequels. It's very much a beginning, middle, end storyline. Like, if you just wanted to read this and not bother with the sequels, I think you probably could. It's doesn't leave anything really that open-ended until you get onto the sequels, like Royal Assassin. That obviously then sets up for a third installment. A lot of books, I find, especially when authors are first sort of making these books, and I find it really common in fantasy, to be honest. I'm not sure why, but they'll normally start you with a sort of beginning, middle, end storyline, just in case everyone hates the book and no one's gonna ask them to make a sequel. But it works. I like it, and if you just want to read this one and not try the others, great. If you love it, I would certainly say try the other books. But in terms of pacing and and the actual movement of the story, I thought it was very fast paced, entertaining, and really great to see. Overall, Assassin's Apprentice is not only a fantastic look into a young boy's progress in life and a beautiful coming of age story, but it's also a fantastic fantasy story with a great magic system, and opens up an entire world that I just can't wait to dive into. I've only read the first two. I've read Assassin's Apprentice and I've read Royal Assassin. I'm yet to finish the Farseer trilogy, and I can't wait to move on to the Live Ship Traders series as well. So there's loads of great content, loads of really good stuff. If you're looking for a big chunky series to dip your head into, Robin Hobb's got it all, and Assassin's Apprentice is a very, very strong opening to a fantastic series so far. What did you think of Assassin's Apprentice? Are you a Robin Hobb fan? Have you tried reading any of her works? If you have, brilliant, leave a comment down below. If you haven't, also leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. Once again, thank you very much and goodbye.